Hi there, I'm Stan, architectural designer and CG artist. In this video I will show you how to create cinematic architectural rendering for this project, from start to finish. To get started, download and install Unreal Engine 5 from the official website unrealengine.com. It's very easy, just follow the instruction on the download page. Installation completed. Let's get a 3D model of the house. For this project I used a free house 3D model from Evermotion. Go to evermotion.com shop section and search for 15th anniversary of Evermotion. Create an account and download all parts of the project archive. Extract the archive files. As you can see, the model is made in 3ds Max. For successful export to Unreal Engine, we need to do a quick preparation. You can also use your own project made in any other program that supports FBX and OBJ export. Open 3ds Max file. For easy operation, set up the viewport. Change display mode from default shading to clay. Set projections for displaying viewports. Now let's remove all unnecessary geometry, cameras and light from the scene. Leave only the building and furniture. Elements of furniture and decor are grouped. Open the groups with the group menu. Click Open. Then select items the stair railing and the back door of the house and click Detach in group menu. Close the groups with the click Close and hide them. Scene is ready to be exported to the Unreal Engine. Save the project in separate file, we'll need it later. Select the geometry. First, I export geometry of the building and then I will add furniture elements to customize them individually. File, Export selected, and export it to FBX format. Set the settings of FBX, disable the cameras and light items. Start Unreal Engine and create a new project with template architecture, blank. In Outliner panel delete everything except exponential high fog, sun sky and volumetric cloud. Use folders to organize a convenient hierarchy of scene objects. Open the content browser by clicking on the content draw. Use docking layout to fix the panel. Select the content folder. Inside, with the right mouse button, create new folders for the geometry, textures and materials. Set color for folders to find assets faster. Select the geometry folder and right-click inside, Import to Game. Find your FBX file. Set up import options. Turn off generate missing collision, we won't need it in this project. Turn on combine meshes so that the object is imported as a single model. Click import. As you can see, I have a problem with displaying assets. This is most likely due to a problem with the GPU driver. I am using a Radeon graphics card. You can solve this problem by disabling ray tracing in the project settings. This will not affect the final result because we will be using Lumion. Go Edit, Project Settings, Rendering, Hardware Ray Tracing, disable all items in this section. Click Restart Now and save selected. Now assets are displayed correctly. Check the imported model. Here you can see that the polygons have incorrect normals. Let's fix this. Back to 3ds Max. Select the element you want to fix and apply the normal modifier. Re-export the model or rewrite in the previous one. Let's go back to Unreal Engine and drag two assets from the content browser into our scene. Set location to 0 on all axes. In content browser, right-click on the object static mesh and select Re-import. Now the house looks great. Before we start setting up the materials, let's change the project's exposure settings so that the materials display correctly. Go Edit, Project Settings, Rendering, Default Settings, Auto Exposure, select Manual, adjust the light intensity, find Sun Sky, then in the Details panel select Directional Light. Set intensity value to 5000. Back to setting up materials. Let's move the imported materials to a new folder. We won't need them anymore. In the materials folder, I create two more folders for main material and material instance. Material is a parent, it contains a combination of nodes that define the characteristic of the painted surface, but any change in this material takes time to compile. Material instance is a child material that is used without such a compilation. It carries the given parameters of the parent material. Based on the parent material with a set of basic parameters, you can create many different child material instances. Let's set up the material. Right-click, Create Material. Let's give it a name. Embase. Double-click to open. First, set the node for the texture image. Right-click inside the workspace, and in the menu find Texture Sample. Use keyboard shortcut Ctrl+C, V to duplicate. We need 4 copies for base color, specular, roughness and normal. Apply and save the material. Close the editor. Now select Embase in the content browser and create a material instance. Right-click, Create Material Instance. Give it a name with the prefix MI. Move the material to the instance folder. Now, for better understanding, let's open material on the left side of the screen and material instance on the right. Connect the texture sample nodes to the input on the material. An error warning appeared because we need to add any texture to texture sample. Let's import to Unreal Engine the wood texture from the archive downloaded from Evermotion. Go to the texture folder. Import to game. Find the maps folder from the unpacked archive. Search for the wood texture images, wood black, and select the diffuse, glossiness and normal images. Working with textures, try to use power of two sizes as possible, such as 2048, 4096 to optimize the performance of Unreal Engine. Put the imported textures in the texture sample nodes. Select the node and on the left in the details panel find texture item. Drag the texture from the content browser to the window named None. Do this for all texture sample nodes. Convert the texture sample to a parameter and name it diffuse texture. Click Apply. As you can see, a new parameter has now appeared in the material instance. With the ability to change the texture, changes will be immediately displayed on the model. Let's continue to create the parameters we need. Add a multiply node. It will help change the brightness of the texture. In pin A, connect the texture, and pin B, promote to parameter, with the name diffuse intensity. Now connect multiply to diffuse color. Click Apply. One more parameter is available for change. Let's try to change the value. We can see that the brightness of the texture is changing. In the same way, I will create another parameter to work with color saturation. Search the saturation. Fraction. Promote to parameter. Let's name it desaturation. Next, I'll add texture blending with color. Find linear interpolation. In pin B, connect constant 3 vector. It sets the color. Alpha, promote to parameter. Name diffuse mix. Color node also promote to parameter. Give it a name. Apply changes. Let's test how it works. Activate parameters. Now we can change the blending strengths of the texture and color. Next, I will set the ability to rotate the texture using the custom rotator node. Promote to parameter. Rotation angle. Let's add the ability to change the scale of the texture. To do this, I use a combination of multiply node and the texture coordinate. Pin B, promote to parameter, named texture tile. Apply and activate new parameters. Let's move to setting up specular. Set it up in the same way with base color. Add intensity control with multiply. And the ability to change texture contrast using the cheap contrast node. Contrast. Promote to parameter. Duplicate the parameters for roughness. It's very important that the name of each parameter is unique, otherwise the parameter will not be displayed in the material instance. Set up the texture of the normal map. Let's add a flattened normal node. Connect the chain to the normal slot. Double-click to add additional points. Flatness convert to parameter to control the intensity of the surface relief. Now we will connect the chain responsible for the rotation and scale of the texture to each texture sample. This will allow us to synchronize the influence of these parameters on all textures at once. Promote to parameter for metallic. It is responsible for the reflective strength of the material, for example, when creating a chromium material. Promote to parameter other texture samples and give them names. Apply the changes and save the material. Drag the material instance from the content browser to the surface of the house. Open the material instance and set up the material. Leave the textures unchanged. Adjust parameters to get the desired result. I got these values. Let's move on to setting up the metal of the roof of the house. Create another material instance from Embase. Go to Quixel Megascans, quixel.com, log in with your Epic Games account. Find the texture moderately scratched surface and download it. Extract the content of the archive and import the texture into Unreal Engine. Place the scratch texture in roughness slot. Set the parameter value. In the same way, create a material for the chimney pipe. I'll just copy the material instance of the roof metal and edit it. In the diffuse texture slot I also add a scratch texture and adjust the diffuse mix parameter. Let's create a wooden floor material. Create a material instance from Embase. Import ever cabin deck wood texture. Add them to material instance slots. Set material parameters. In the same way, create and adjust the material of the door, the foundation of the house and the window frames. Let's move on to creating the window glass material. Create a new material. Create parameters for color, metallic, specular, roughness. Go to details and change blending mode to translucent. Next, change lightning mode to surface forward shading. Opacity promote to parameter. For refraction, connect the Fresnel node. Base reflect fraction, promote to parameter. Create a material instance and customize it. I set these values. To set up interior materials, I added a temporary point light and increased its intensity to 800. Create materials for the interior. I'll show you the setting of interior materials in fast playback. Creating the environment is probably my favorite part of job. It is a creative process, limited only by your imagination. Launch Quixel Bridge. It's already built in the Unreal Engine. And log into your account with Epic Games. Go to the collection section and find the one that suits you. For this project I choose the Tundra collection. The collection contains many assets to create the environment. To add an asset, drag it to your scene. To change the position of object in scene, use hotkeys or Ctrl in the upper right corner of the viewport. Select and translate, W key. Select and rotate, E. Select and scale, R. Keep adding assets to shape the environment you want. To copy assets, use Move with Alt key pressed. Now let's create surrounding landscape. For this, I use gigantic landscape assets. To create the mountains, I'll use the scaled upper rock formation assets. Let's add assets from the Iceland collection. Let's set up the fog. Select exponential high fog. Increase fog density. Decrease the fog high falloff value. Activate volumetric fog. Move to the place where you want to put the camera. Click on the button to the left of perspective and select Create Camera here. Sign Camera Actor. The camera has been created. Click Perspective and select the created camera. Now you see through the camera, and when you move in the viewport, you move the camera too. In the camera settings on the panel on the right, under Lens settings, choose the appropriate value. Let's set up the camera position. To exit the camera mode, click on the icon located to the left of the camera image. Keep creating cameras and looking for the best shooting angles. Before adding the foliage to the scene, we need to select the assets. Go to Quixel Bridge. Find the assets you want. Download and add grass and bush assets. Now, if you select the foliage mode, you will see that the added assets have appeared in the list. Select all assets and remove it. It's more convenient to add assets step by step. Go to the content browser and find the Megascans folder in it. Then find the folder with the added foliage assets collection. Drag the selected assets to the foliage area. Select all assets from the list, right-click and activate them. Now with the help of a brush you can place foliage on any surfaces. You can adjust the brush size and blending density. Place the foliage on the surface of the landscape. Use the brush tool with holding down the Shift key, or the lasso and delete tool in foliage panel to remove. Now let's add some more foliage. Select all foliage in the list and deactivate it. Add a new set of assets and activate them. Post-process volume defines the overall look and feel of the scene through a combined selection of properties and features. For example, the display of colors, lighting, shadows, the quality and method of light processing, as well as many other properties. A feature of this volume is that all its settings are valid only when the camera is inside it. If you leave the volume, project settings will be applied. Go to Add to the project, Volumes, Post-process volume. Volume appeared in the scene. Let's increase its size so that the main part of the scene is inside the volume. In the Detail panel you can see a lot of settings. We will return to them in the final project setup stage. Now the project looks almost finished. I also took dry wood and firewood from Quixel Megascans. To create realistic fog, I prepared monochrome images of smoke and fog. Import them into the project. Let's create the material. In the Details panel, change Shading Mode to Translucent. Let's create a parameter to change the color of the fog. Constant 3 vector. Convert to parameter. For opacity, add a texture sample node. Add a texture to remove the error. Set the color to white to see the result. Let's add a multiply node to control the intensity of the fog. Pin B, promote to parameter. Set default value to 1. Activate two-sided. Create a material instance. I need to create a plane mesh that will be carrier of the fog. Go to the Shape section and create a plane. Let's apply a material instance to the plane. Adjust fog color and intensity. Now, using Scale and Copy, I will place the fog in the scene. Use additional material instances to add variety to the fog. Place the fog on the scene so that it looks natural and fills the lowlands. In this part of the tutorial, I will make the animation of the cameras. Switch to the view from the camera I need. Go to the content browser and create a new folder. Click with the right mouse button. Cinematics. Level sequence. Give the name the same as the camera. Open the created level sequence. Track. Actor to sequencer. Select a camera from the list. Now I need to write down animation keys. Click on the little plus icon to the right of transform. This will create a new animation key and record the current camera position. Now move the timeline slider to the end of the clip. Change the camera position and create an animation key. Play the animation. It can be seen that the camera does not move correctly, making a rotation around its axis by 360 degrees. Let's fix it. Open the Transform tab. Pay attention to the yaw value. It changes from minus to plus. Move the slider to the end of the clip and manually add a minus in front of the value. Now the camera moves correctly. I will also change the animation playback type. Now the animation smoothly accelerates at the beginning and slows down at the end. Highlight the created animation keys. Right-click and in the menu change cubic to linear. Now the animation plays evenly. Similarly, I will create an animation for all cameras in the scene. Just choose cool cinematic angles for your cameras. At this point, let's set up the sun sky lighting system. This is a system for generating physically correct daylight. It consists of several components that work together and change depending on the position of the sun. Choose Sun Sky. Go to the Details panel. You can control the position of the sun in the Location menu section. Let's change the value of latitude and north offset to create a sunset. Yes, I like the way the sun shines. Now I will adjust the sky so that the clouds are only on the horizon. Change the layer button altitude and layer height to get the desired result. Now I will add furniture that falls into the view of the cameras. For this I will go back to 3ds Max and export some furniture and interior elements. I select the elements and export the selection to FBX, just like I did with the house. Then I import each assets into Unreal Engine. To accurately place an object in the scene, set all position coordinates to 0. Do this with all edit assets. Create and set up materials for furniture in the same way as we did for house. I got this result. For the final lighting setup, I individually tuned the components of Sun Sky system. Access to their editing can be obtained from the Details panel. I increase the intensity of skylight component to make the shadows lighter to 1.8. Next I change the setting of the sky atmosphere component to increase the haze effect and make the sun redder. I change the atmosphere height, ray light scattering and mist scattering scale values. In the post-process volume I improved the global illumination quality by increasing values, lumen scene quality, lumen scene details, and final gather quality. Next I adjust the quality of the reflections, increase the quality value, ray light mode set to heat reflections, activate high quality translucency reflections. Now the reflections look much more natural. For each of the cameras I manually adjusted the exposure. First, check if you have installed plugins Movie Render Queue. Next, I will open the level sequence with camera animation. Click Render this movie. The sequence automatically appeared in the list. I will add other cameras. After that, you need to set the settings for each sequence. Select first one. Click Settings and choose EXR output format. Sequence in EXR format will be heavy, but this format has a wide dynamic range. Next I will add anti-aliasing. I will set the number of samples to 100. This is the optimal value for a quality result. I activate override anti-aliasing and select the multi-sample anti-aliasing method. Now set up the output. Set 4K resolution. Then specify the folder where the sequence of image files for each frame of animation will be saved. It's very important to specify a new folder for each sequence, otherwise the files will be overwritten by the next sequence. Set up all the sequences in the project in the same way. Ready. Now it remains only to switch the viewport mode to unlit. I do this to free up system resources for rendering period. Click Render Local and wait for the rendering process to finish. Let's see what the finished sequence looks like. This is a lot of raster files. For video editing I use DaVinci Resolve. As you can see here, the sequence is displayed as a single video file, and I can easily manage it on the timeline. You can use any other program that allows you to work with image sequences. This is how my finished project looks like. I added music and sound effects. Hey, I hope you found this video helpful, and now you can make an impressive render of your project. The finishing project is available for download, the link in the description.